Hey, welcome back to Common Truth. So this is episode 5 of the season 1 of the Common Truth podcast. And if you want to watch our last video, just click on our channel and watch that to stay up to date on everything that we talk about. Today, I'll just get straight into the topic, and that's deciphering depression. So in our general thoughts, you know that we like to discuss various things about psychology and what we do in our innate nature. And by now, you probably know what depression is. In fact, it's very common for many people to suffer this illness. It's kind of like an ailment of the brain, and many people have actually been providing more importance to this, which is actually good, because before we used to consider this as just kind of going crazy. It used to be something that we used to just fail to actually consider, and it's caused much pain in our past. However, we're finally realizing that our mistakes of the past, and we're actually following the guide of history into a better future, one where we're actually considering and providing importance in order to grow from the experience of depression. However, there's a lot of misconceptions that go with this, and we also fail to consider what we actually have to do with providing ourselves, because it's not just something that occurs because as something of superficial fate or anything, because one person's luck or the ability for them to actually perceive what they feel is not always the driving cause of depression. However, there's some things that we do that just if we avoid doing, then we'll probably eventually be able to grow and consider the position that we're in and just better ourselves as human beings and live a more fulfilled, content life. And these just include some simple factors. You might even know of some of them. You probably know of social media, and you probably spend your time. However, there's a lot of people that overhype how much social media actually pains, because they're like, oh, okay, well, if someone goes and they try and seek validation and they don't gain it, then they're eventually gonna for sure end up sad because they feel like they failed. This is not in and of itself true, because despite what other people might say, at the end of the day, we generally tend to forget about this because we drown ourselves in distractions all the time. And even though this is also a negative thing, because this is something that we just try to do for fulfillment, even though at the end of the day we're not really getting it, it is something that helps us forget about the experiences or what other people might say to us. It's something that we can easily just drown out, and something that we can cover our ears to, especially now that there's a lot of people who are coming out with stories about how other people have mentioned them and they just were able to overcome it or get over it in a very quick manner. And yeah, so this has become a more seamless process. So this is not what actually a lot of people take a problem with. It's the fact that our excessive time we spend on it, we develop fantasies and we develop various thoughts about how our life should be led, even though that's not actually how we want it to be led. It's something that we are competing with other people to try and be better than them for the sake of fulfillment, because at the end of the day, we don't care about what other people say in validation, because we know internally or subconsciously, even though you might not be consciously aware of this, we know that the only path to fulfillment is self-indulgence within our own path or whatever we actually desire, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that will actually help us truly feel like we've had an impact. However, if we just listen to what everyone else says, then it's just for the sake of validation. Yeah, of course there's going to be external pressures or whatever in the environment that we're in. However, these things we can just get over, and they're not the things that primarily influence us. Once we develop these desires or fantasies to do things that we generally just might not want to do, then we start to face fierce competition, even though it's something that we've ourselves caused. It's just self-inflicted. It's something that we're causing. It's internal conflict is just similar to that in standards, and it's something that we just should try and avoid. However, it's not something that we've actually considered with social media, and this actually happens with excessive use, because then we're building the habit of just comparing ourselves every time we just get in the domain of thought of social media or socializing itself. And as social creatures, this is a very common instance or scenario for us, so then we start to feel sad all the time. Moreover, if you just live a bad lifestyle, ones where you're not eating properly, drinking properly, ones where you're trying to just avoid everything and just take everything for entertainment value. If you take something at face value, of course, because let's say you have a favorite food and it's probably not something like blueberries or watermelon or fruits. It's probably not that. When you probably think of your favorite food, you probably think of something that's probably detrimental to your health. However, they just taste good. And if you have it on an occasional basis, then yeah, alright. But then many people just indulge themselves in soda and various things various energy drinks drinks all the time, and these are just some things that you shouldn't drink, because all the artificial things, all the artificial chemicals, flavorings, preservatives, and all of the unhealthy aspects that make up these foods and the compounds that just consist of them are statistically proven to make you feel more kind of like just crazy about your life, and just indulge yourself in more and more of this, because it's a repeated pattern. At the end of the day, these corporations just care about reaping a profit off of you. So if you're more likely to just go in a downward spiral and then buy more of their product, then that's definitely something that they're going to pursue, because at the end of the day, they just look at a sales number. They don't realize the impact that one number has between millions of lives. So yeah, you need to consider what you're doing, because otherwise you're going to be inflicted with a lot of different mental ailments, such as anxiety. You could get depression, like we're talking about in this video, and it's something that a lot of people nowadays are also faking, because a lot of people want to victimize themselves to kind of like show others that they haven't fulfilled their true potential. Because when we feel useless, we want to express it to others, but that's the first thought that comes into our mind. We don't really want to just feel the fact that we aren't fulfilling what we need to do. We just want to express to others that we want them to think that we're doing something, or even we're trying to find excuses to victimize ourselves, to find a reason why they would think that we're not doing anything. Because if anyone just accuses you of not doing something, you just get defensive, because that's your first instinct. We don't want anyone else to think that way about us, and because of that, it's just something that we've built into our nature. It's something that we deny and we find excuses, and because of that, before, people didn't want to get victimized in the past. They actually wanted to just stand out from other people, and they wanted to just be the one out of all the people who were actually getting victimized. They were facing some predicament or problem, and they wanted to be the ones to overcome it. However, in a society where everything is provided to us and everything is quite relaxing, we're just kind of feeling just a bit slow, and we want to victimize ourselves because it provides us a spotlight to express ourselves, even though it might not actually be sincere or might not actually be a true expression of our emotion. And because of this, a lot of people, even though this might sound quite insensitive, a lot of people are kind of like faking depression. I mean, of course, a lot of people are true, and I'm not accusing certain people of doing this. However, I feel like this is something that's common in our society, and it's something that's been observed, because when we see something that's happening to the crowd and we see a way for us to use it as an excuse, it just happens in a snap of a finger. We just happen to do it, and we happen to pursue that course of action in order to gain like the benefit to our own lives. So I want you to truly consider how you can probably fix yourself, or if you can't, talking and expressing yourself is the best way to grow from an experience, because at the end of the day, once we express ourselves, we know where we lack and we know our shortcomings, and we just generally reflect, and these provides us with a lot of insights into our own internal self and what we actually want to do and what we should pursue in order to have like the best, most comfortable, maybe most content life. So yeah, this is basically it. It's a pretty short episode, but I hope you learned something. Subscribe, you can listen on Spotify, and I want you to leave a suggestion what you think about this topic, because it's something that's quite serious, and I would love to hear what you guys think about the psychology behind this. So yeah, thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.